From Ohio, Mr. Jordan.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. McClintock will go first for our side.
Mr. McClintock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Wray, last month, 180,000 foreign nationals illegally crossed our border. That's a 674% increase over last May, nearly 1 million so far this year. The leaders of Mexico and the Northern Triangle countries all say this is in direct response to the Biden open border policies. I don't think there's any question that's the case. These policies have produced the largest human trafficking operation since the international slave trade. Can you tell us how many persons on the terrorist watch list have been encountered this year crossing through our southern border?
Congressman, I'm not sure that I have that number, but it may be that we can provide the specifics separately. I do know that our field offices down on the border work very closely with CBP, especially focused on so-called special interest aliens as well as potential.
But I've watched
I just don't have the numbers
groups being flagged through straight to transportation hubs. How many persons with criminal records or criminal warrants have been encountered this year crossing our southern border?
Again, I don't have the specific figures, but I know that our field offices down there, all of which I've visited, work very closely with CBP on this issue, and I agree with you that it's a significant security concern.
Well, would you think is a more dangerous threat to our nation's security than, say, whether Rudy Giuliani filed the right paperwork for his lobbying firm?
I really can't discuss any specific individuals' investigation.
Can you at least give us the FBI estimate of how many terrorists, criminals, and gang members are among the hundreds of thousands of gotaways that the Border Patrol's been unable to intercept?
Again, I'd be happy to see if I can provide specific numbers and information to be helpful to your request separately. So I'm happy to follow up with your staff on that.
On that point, House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy sent you a letter in April requesting a briefing on this subject. Will you commit to keeping Mr. McCarthy, in fact, all members of this committee, fully informed of it?
I believe we may have already even provided the briefing that you're referring to for Leader McCarthy.
And will you provide that for all members of this committee?
Again, I'm happy to see what information we can provide to be helpful.
Well, I hope you could provide me all the information.
Again, I have to see what information we can provide, but yes.
Is it true that many of the foreign nationals who are being trafficked across our border often arrive here deeply indebted to the Mexican crime cartels?
Certainly, we have seen quite a number of such instances, absolutely.
Are those debts collected through indentured servitude to the cartels?
In some cases, definitely. We have a number of human trafficking task forces, as well as working on certain task forces with DHS to try to address that issue. But there's no question that the cartel activity on the other side of the border is spilling over in all sorts of ways, and you just put your finger directly on one that is extremely concerning to us all.
So we basically, 170 plus years after the 13th Amendment, have slavery burgeoning in this country as a result of these policies.
Well, certainly, I do consider human trafficking a form of, and I like the word, a modern form of slavery. I mean, it's almost medieval.
It certainly is. How is that? You mentioned out of the country, but in this country, how is that enforced? Do the cartels have gang affiliates who extract these debts?
Well, it varies from case to case. Certainly, the different cartels have affiliations with different sorts of gangs here in the United States. There's not just human trafficking from a labor perspective, but also sex trafficking. This is a massive
organized crime syndicate burgeoning in this country because of these policies. What are you doing about it?
So we are attacking, it's a team effort, right? Obviously, DHS has the primary responsibility for the border itself, but we have Safe Streets task forces that go after the gang activity. We have OCDEF strike forces that go after.
How many agents and how much money are you directing at this threat?
Again, I could see if I could give you specific numbers, but I don't have those off the top of my head. I will tell you, which is sometimes surprising to people, that our criminal programs, our traditional criminal programs, which include exactly the kind of thing you're talking about, remain, even to this day, with all the national security threats that get so much discussion, remain our biggest number of agents, our biggest allocation of resources. And violent crime, different sorts of violent crime within the criminal program is by far and away the biggest chunk.
Thank you.
Gentleman's time has expired.